Marcus, Jamal,
David, Simeon, Ashley.
This roll call of young voices was recorded back in 2006. They're the voices of 10 boys, all about 12 years old, under the watchful gaze of proud parents, teachers, and even sponsors.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate them, welcome them, and wish them a very safe passage to Jamaica. Well done, boys. We are proud of you.
All this was taking place at Heathrow Airport. This little group was about to set off on a big adventure.
My name is Marcus Nelson. I'm going to Jamaica every year for 5 years, 4 weeks on every summer, to train to be a doctor or a scientist.
I'm looking forward to the foods, learning new things, and the heat.
I'll probably be all like spicy chicken and rice and everything. They said there'll be a KFC like where we're going, so that'll be good.
I want to become a research scientist. I think if I can find new things, then it could help the world.
12-year-olds training to be doctors and scientists. When I was that age, I wanted to be a cowboy. It was a pretty radical plan hatched up by the academic Tony Sewell. He wanted to do something about the fact that there were so many young black boys who were failing within the school system. Just 33% of them were achieving 5 A-star to C grades in their GCSEs. That was compared to 57% in the population as a whole. He wanted to take the brightest kids rather than focusing on those who were already failing. He wanted to catch them young, and he wanted to stay with them.
For 5 years, we're going to grow a group of boys, and we're going to begin to turn the cycle of underachievement through this model. The moment is going to be when they're in those lab coats saying that, wow, research science is really sexy. It's sexier than rap music, sexier than football. Some of them have never left their estate. Some of them have never been on a plane. But once they step on that Air Jamaica flight, they'll never be the same again.
The scheme was called Generating Genius. Tony Sewell has never lacked ambition. I was intrigued by it, but it did raise some questions. Did it really make sense to focus on the brightest kids, those kids who are going to achieve in any case? And also, I couldn't see how this success would translate to those who were failing. Well, it's been 7 years now, so it's high time to catch up with some of those original geniuses, especially as there's a new set of challenging statistics facing them. Almost half of all black men between the ages of 16 and 24 are unemployed. I want to find out if Generating Genius gave them the tools to beat those odds.
My name is Jamal Miller. I'm just turned 21. I study economics at the University of Kent.
You were part of that original 10 boys, and you were at Heathrow Airport about to depart for Jamaica. Have a listen.
My name is Jamal and I'm a little bit nervous, but yeah, I'm very excited. There are a few people in my school that are jealous that they got the form, but they didn't want to apply because they thought it was stupid. But, well, silly. I feel really special that I got this far, and I'm going to Jamaica now, and I've got all the way. Yeah, I'm going to miss my family, I'm going to miss my house, my bed, my friends. Just going to miss my summer holiday. It's for a good cause, but I mean, we're still working on our summer holiday, and then we've got to go back to school and study more, so it's a lot of pressure.
What's so funny?
A lot of pressure.
You're full of beans. Couldn't shut you up.
Definitely. It's funny hearing that now because it triggers some memories I haven't thought about in a long time. I do remember the excitement. There's a lot of people and a lot of cameras and a lot of new experiences, yeah.
And you felt special?
Definitely. You know, being selected for the program was almost like my talent has been recognised. And I think being in state school and maybe not that talent always being recognised and you're not given those opportunities to sort of push forward. And I think that's what the programme did, pushed us forward.
I want to be a research scientist. I don't think my science at school isn't good enough because they don't take much care into it. We have supply teachers, we don't do any experiments. I really want to achieve really good in science, but my school kind of holds me back.
So you were quite forthright in your criticism of your school and the school system. What was it that wasn't happening for you there?
I think that attitude, that mentality to sort of, study hard and work hard was always frowned upon and was never popular. Everyone's young and everyone's growing up, and that was, that was a tough issue I had to deal with in school. The content of the program was very challenging. We didn't just get to Jamaica and have a holiday. We got to Jamaica and we got to University of the West Indies. I remember I gave a presentation on malaria. The idea, that we sort of went with was entomopathogenic fungi.
You're trying to embarrass me now, aren't you?
I'm just talking about the sort of level of understanding that we had to understand at such a young age, and that's sort of where the pressure came from. It really stretched us, our abilities.
What practical difference did it make when you returned to school here?
I've had the experiences that I've had over summer where I've actually seen really successful black individuals, black leaders, and seen the light at the end of the tunnel almost, and a taste of where I want to be. And then it's a lot easier to just keep your head down and do what you've got to do because you know where you want to get to.
I can see that it is easier to get where you want to get to if you've had a glimpse of that. But I can't help wondering whether somebody like Jamal, as thoughtful as he is, would have got where he's got to with or without the help of generating genius. Ashley Kelly is one of those original geniuses. He's currently studying electrical engineering at Nottingham University. Here's his mum back in 2006 at Heathrow Airport.
I'm Gloria, and this is Rudy, and we're here with Ashley. I think I would have had to bribe Tony if he didn't get on it. That's how serious he was. But obviously he's a bit nervous now, and we had a little bit of tears yesterday. But he's fine. He seems to be, he's gone off with the others, so he must be okay.
Ashley, your mum revealed that you shed a tear the night before you went off to Jamaica.
I deny that thoroughly. There is no evidence to support that claim, and I think it's, lies.
Yeah, things can get confused in the mist of time, can't they?
It was a kind of shower at the time, actually. I think I remember it clearly now. And my hair was wet and it was running down my face. It wasn't actually tears.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
My name's Ashley Kelly. It was a bit weird because people kept on coming up to me and saying, "Oh, I saw you in the paper, but I've got used to it now." It's going to be a great experience being able to mix with people from a different country, and we'll be able to learn from each other.
What are your other thoughts when you hear your 12-year-old self talking?
I think it's kind of weird. Yeah, I kind of agree with what I said. I guess in England, education is something that you take for granted. Whereas in Jamaica, those kids were like 100% focused in every class. They knew that, this was a brilliant opportunity. Then it motivated us to realize, education in itself is a great opportunity.
What do mothers with newborn babies who have sickle cell receive from the clinic? Xavier.
So you can repeat the question?
Oh, no. Go on.
Are you saying that your experience of education would have been very much more different had you not been on that trip to Jamaica?
I think it would have been easier for me to just kind of get bored and be like, I don't want to do this anymore. A lot of times through my educational journey, I've had experiences that weren't fun and I really didn't want to do them. But obviously you have to push through that.
And that belief seems to have kicked in when you're in the sixth form.
Yes, chemistry. I did the International Baccalaureate and I did chemistry as a higher. And in that chemistry higher class, I learned the meaning of difficult. I'm pretty sure I could, step up to pro table tennis faster. And I think halfway through the year, after taking several knockdowns, I just decided, there's no way that this subject, silly chemistry, is going to stop me from, making my goals. And my friend, who was of equal intelligence with me, he had the attitude that I had, at the beginning of the year, was that this is impossible and there's almost no way that we're going to pass. And I began to get a grasp of the subject, and he didn't, unfortunately, because his attitude was a block for him to grasp that. And one of my favourite quotes is, "Whether a man thinks he can or he cannot, he is right." So if you don't believe in yourself and the school and the teachers don't, push you or tell you can do any better, then you're never going to do any better.
Ashley is convinced then that generating genius did make a difference. The environment surrounded by other young pupils who were keen to learn, and also the constant reminder that you could do better, that you should aim higher. Of course, these boys also had very supportive parents. I spoke to Gloria Kelly and Pauline Miller, Jamal's mother, and I asked Pauline what she made of the popular perception that it was struggling single parents who are responsible for children failing in schools.
What is a black single mother? I'm a black single mother. I had Jamal very young, so I certainly fit the demographic. I'm a strong professional in my industry. I'm dedicated to ensuring that I provide Jamal with the opportunities that I had and more. It is very hard to raise a child on your own. I raised my son with a community around me, with family, with a network of friends. It takes a community to raise a young man.
Teachers have a lack of understanding of black culture. They don't appreciate, yes, boys are loud, and that's them being their natural self. I think you have to look at boys individually, and I suppose teachers don't have enough time to look at boys individually. And it's for parents, really. When you realise that something's going on at school, is to be at the forefront and saying, look, I hear there's a problem with my son.
I think the programme itself was more of awareness because, as I was walking down the street, people would see me and say, you're the guy from this programme. We want to be like you. People started to think that their children can achieve, because if you don't see black people achieving, then you're never going to notice it. And I think culturally it's easy to see black people only being successful in certain fields like music. And how many black boys who are good at science and maybe good at football or like music would ever see themselves doing a science degree or working in a science field or a technology field? Not many, because those are fields that are already neglected in society as it is, but even more so neglected for black males, because the focus is on things that just aren't really attainable, like music and football.
This bone right in the middle of the chest? So they're going to cut from here straight down the middle of the sternum.
Oh my God. So they're just going to rip that off.
This is one of the reasons why the scheme began in Jamaica, a majority black country where it's not just the rappers and athletes who are black, but indeed the professors and heart surgeons too. As it turned out, the cost and the logistics of going to Jamaica proved too much for this fledgling charity. And for the next few years, Ashley and the others spent their summers here in Britain at universities building robots or writing computer programs. Even so, meeting successful black professionals remained an important part of the scheme. Simeon Balson-Jones is now studying physics at Imperial College, but he says race is only part of the story.
It's not necessarily to do with race, it's more to do with your environment. If you send somebody of any skin colour to, say, Eton College, they're likely to end up at a very good university compared to if you send someone to an inner state school, it's going to be a lot harder. So if you're not in the best area surrounded by people who want to do well, it is really difficult regardless of who you are, because even at my university, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day and we were just talking about our friend group and we were like, who actually went to a state school apart from me, and nobody else did. So it will be quite interesting if you could see the statistics on maybe inner city state school admittance rate, because I'm pretty sure that would be lower than, say, the Afro-Caribbean rate in the entire university.
They talk about the sense of a cultural fit, the idea that if you put for example, rap music on the curriculum, which rap, let's face it, is poetry, a lot of young black boys would be getting A's. Mm-hmm. Do you believe in that? Or shouldn't young black boys have to fight their terrain like everybody else?
I agree with both points. So first of all, I do believe if you tailored it more towards the interests of what a young black person will be into, I do think they'll perform better. But I do believe that you just kind of have to play with the hand you're dealt.
I can understand Simeon's view that environment plays a bigger part than race. Tony Sewell, the man who dreamt up this scheme, acknowledges that things have changed since 2006.
At the time, London schools were notoriously bad. More the bog than the standard, to be honest. It wasn't necessarily all about racist teachers. But in fact, what it was about the inability, really, to deal with a peer group that was anti-school. The problem hasn't gone away, Dotton, but it's improved. For example, a lot of those students are in schools now that have high aspirations for them.
So let's go back to those initial 10 boys. What was the key ingredient, do you think?
Taking the boys out of a comfort zone and exposing them to something that was completely different and that was high end. I think the second thing for me was the fact that the intervention for those boys would never be just a one-hit story. We worked with them over a period of time.
Ryan Shorthouse is an expert on education and social policy at the think tank, the Social Market Foundation. He has some reservations about Generating Genius's approach.
Some of the issues with the organisation are whether it really adds value. If this person hadn't been in this scheme, would they have, got the grades that they had if they'd gone on to university? I think a lot of evidence on education shows that an individual's educational trajectory is determined very early on in their lives. What we really need to do is build a high-quality preschool education system, because I think the kids from less affluent backgrounds will do much better in the long term if they're exposed to high-quality preschool education, and I think that's where you get the bang for your buck. So if I was going to deploy public resource, I would want to do it on something which has a robust, rigorous evaluation. And I'm not sure that Generating Genius has quite achieved that yet. In terms of, does it add more value than high-quality preschool education, for example? I don't think it does. However, that's not to say that Generating Genius doesn't add value in some way. It's a good thing. The government should look to promote it, but with limited public funding, it shouldn't go to Generating Genius.
Marcus Nelson, who we heard from at the beginning of the programme on his way to Jamaica, is now studying biochemistry at Bristol University.
Clearly in Bristol, there aren't many mixed race or black people, students there. For me, the race isn't the biggest thing. The biggest thing for me was the difference in class. So the black people that are there, they are from the middle class, and so they seem like everyone else and they can easily fit in. The difference in class really shows when you talk about your interests. And I might say football and they'll say rugby, or I'll say computer games and they'll say skiing. That's where it's difficult to form relationships and fit in. So
I think I'm special because I've had loads of photo shoots. I've been going to be on telly. I've been in the newspaper. Yeah, so I think I'm famous and stuff because I'm smart and I'm the main person, isn't it? Yeah, so I want to be rich when I'm older. So I want to be a doctor. Yeah, because doctors get loads of money, innit? Yeah, probably a doctor that gives you lots of money.
That's a good answer.
What do you think when you hear your 12-year-old self there, the main man, innit?
Well, I guess I'm still pretty similar, actually. I think that everyone should believe that about themselves. But yeah, I guess at that age, especially, I sounded a bit arrogant, especially saying that I'm the main man and I'm famous. It's quite funny to hear it back, actually.
You've dropped the in it, and you've dropped the South London brogue. Where did that go?
As you get older, you start to become more conscious of the world and class and, professional careers. And around the age of 14, 15, I remember coming back home and telling my mum that I wanted to learn more words. So I just came home and I'd get the dictionary out and learn 10 words a day and just keep on doing that.
Do you still want to become a doctor?
The way I think about it is I would like to do a job that only I can do. And so I want a job where, so for example, teaching where, okay, yes, somebody else can be a teacher, but can they inspire that student the way I can, or can they engage them the way that I can? So a job that's more about maybe creativity or imagination, more along those lines.
Whatever career he chooses, Marcus and the other boys from 2006 are faced with one stark statistic of today. 49% of black men between the ages of 16 and 24 are officially classed as unemployed. That's compared to 21% of their white counterparts. Marcus is preparing to do battle against those stats, and meeting him in the flesh, there is one obvious difference from those teenage photos of him on the Generating Genius website.
I started to grow my afro because a girl I liked at the time said I would look nice if I grew my hair.
Yeah, it's always the way with young boys, isn't it? It's always a girl there, a femme fatale somewhere or other. Why did you cut it off?
I had a work placement at Shell. I had my hair in cornrows, but part of the feedback was that even that's not smart enough to have in a corporate work environment. So the next day, actually, I undid my my cornrows and I just shaved my head off. You do get more respect from people in general if, you know, you look a bit more professional, just from everyone. Having an afro sort of makes you appear as a bit more of a joke. So that's why I cut it off, really.
Have you changed since going to university? Have you lost those working class roots?
It's never black and white in life with anything, but I would say based on the general perception of class, right now I would say I'm middle class.
You're shedding your working class roots.
Shedding them? Maybe covering them up a little bit.
Jamal has set his sights on a career in investment banking. How does he feel about the stats that suggest that there's 50% chance of him being unemployed?
When you hear that statistic, it's a shocking statistic, and it's quite sad hearing that statistic, but I've already probably done a lot to combat that statistic, getting to where I've gotten to at 21, the qualifications I've received, you know, taekwondo, everything that I do. At this stage, if I haven't done everything I've already done at 21, then it's too late. When you come out of the education system, you take your qualifications to the job market, then the challenges you face once you get there are going to be a lot different based on your background, based on the colour you are, based on your gender, and I think that's the reason why I think the colour going into education is important.
But are 12-year-old black boys aware of that?
Maybe a 12-year-old isn't thinking that, but are their family thinking that? And if their family's thinking that, then their family's not pushing them towards the education system, because their family's maybe thinking, well, you know, school didn't do anything for me, school's not going to do anything for you.
Generating Genius has grown since Jamal and the others joined in 2006. There are now some 500 young people involved in the organisation. There's now a uni-genius scheme, which prepares slightly older pupils for the top universities and for careers. The scheme now takes disadvantaged young people from all ethnic backgrounds, and it even takes girls. The awards ceremony for this year's intake was held at Google's shiny headquarters in London. An enthusiastic student quartet played the background music as the candidates trooped up for their awards.
I think it was very important for it to be opened up for girls, because we don't necessarily get to be at the top of the business sector or the best scientists. So it really gave us an opportunity to see people who we can aspire to.
I was lucky enough to get an internship, work shadowing placement, with the help of my mentor. Uni Genius has brought the bridge between us students and the professional world.
Black boys are no longer the worst performing students in our school system. In recent years, it's been poor white boys who have been at the bottom of the league tables. A recent report by the think tank, the Centre for Social Justice, shows that only 26% of white boys on free school meals achieved 5 A-star to C grades last year. That's compared with 40% of black boys. Tony Sewell of Generating Genius.
For us, as a charity, we're now looking at working class white boys. I see myself as the black David Livingstone, going back into areas of Essex in particular, where white boys are saying to me, oh, they don't want to work hard anymore. And I'm saying, no, I've come to save you.
Is your gospel exactly the same for the white boys of Essex as it was for the black boys of inner city London?
Yes. Because if you think about it, we de-racialised our boys. The message really for them was your background doesn't mean anything anymore because you're a genius. What is happening around those schools, exactly what happened around the black schools in London, and that is the teachers around those students, as well as their parents, some of them, have very low aspirations for those students. They do not see university as on their radar, yeah? And I need to put it on their radar.
As one of the scheme's pioneers, Marcus was a keynote speaker at the award ceremony.
And in Jamaica we did geology, got to ride a speedboat, cloned a pineapple, made soap, didn't use it, but made soap. And that was only in the first year.
It's been really inspiring for me to meet these young men, as thoughtful and hard-working as they are, and with a real sense of social responsibility. They want to do things for their communities. It will be fascinating to see where this journey leads them in the next 7 years.
I'm really being pulled towards teaching, actually, becoming a great science teacher, because I think a lot of science graduates that have communication skills, I think they end up in investment banking or something else. I don't know, I can see myself in the kids, so I try to help out in any way I can.
Do you see it as a responsibility that you should be role models, if you like?
I don't see it as my responsibility. I like to see it more so that it's my duty almost. The key thing is, will it be enough? That's what I think, the question we need to really be addressing going forward.
Where do you see yourself?
I'd say working in the energy field, or the path that most engineers lead to these days is finance. I might just, see the money and run. No more student debt, please.
Can you then, you, Marcus, Jamal and all the others, could you change the perception of young black boys when they go into the employment world?
I definitely feel that Generation Genius has prepared us and made us more aware of, our responsibilities in the community. And I definitely feel like the work is still in front of us, and, I think we're all up to the task.